Hello students, this is your English lesson. In this lesson, we are going to read unit number 2, Black Beauty from Oxford Modern English 7. So we start our lesson. First of all, words to know. Circumstance, a particular incident or happening. Colt, a young male horse. Pricked, caused to stand and point upwards. Stag, adult male deer. The scent, the trail of a haunted animal. Whine, to make a long, high-pitched sound as if in pain. This excerpt is taken from the novel Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. The story is about a horse, and you will see from this short piece that the story is told by a horse. This particular passage deals with the question of blood sport, which is hunting wild animals as a sport. Even today, this is a subject on which the public is much divided. Before I was 2 years old, a circumstance happened which I have never forgotten. It was early in the spring. There had been a little frost in the night, and a light mist still hung over the woods and meadows. I and the other colts were feeding at the lower part of the field when we heard, quite in the distance, what sounded like the cry of dogs. The oldest of the colts raised his head, pricked up his ears, and said, "There are the hounds." Hounds, a dog of breed used for hunting, and immediately cantered off horse moves of a speed that is slow, followed by the rest of us, to the upper part of the field, where we could look over the hedge and see several fields beyond. My mother and an old riding horse of our master's were also standing near and seemed to know all about it. "They have found a hare," said my mother, "and if they come this way, we shall see the hunt." And soon the dogs were all tearing down the field of young wheat next to ours. I never heard such a noise as they made. They did not bark, nor howl, nor whine, but kept on a yo you at the top of their voices. After them came a number of men on horseback, some of them in green coats, all galloping as fast as they could. The old horses snorted and looked eagerly after them, and we young colts wanted to be galloping with them, but they were soon away into the fields lower down. Here it seemed as if they had come to a stand. The dogs left off barking and ran about every way with their noses to the ground. "They have lost the scent," said the old horse. "Perhaps the hare will get off." "What hare?" I said. "Oh, I don't know what hare. Likely enough it may be one of our own hares out of the woods. Any hare they can find will do for the dogs and men to run after." And before long the dogs began their yo again, and back they came all together at full speed, making straight for our meadow, at the part where the high bank and hedge overhang the brook, a small stream. "Now we shall see the hare," said my mother, and just then a hare, wild with fright, rushed by, and made for the woods. On came the dogs. They burst over the bank, lapped the stream, and came dashing across the field, followed by the huntsmen. 6 or 8 men lapped their horses clean over, close upon the dogs. The hare tried to get through the fence. It was too thick, and she turned sharp round to make for the road. But it was too late. The dogs were upon her with their wild cries. We heard one shriek, and that was the end of her. One of the huntsmen rode up and whipped off the dogs. Whipped, beat with the whip, who would soon have torn her to pieces. He held up the rabbit, and all the gentlemen seemed well pleased. As for me, I was so astonished that I did not at first see what was going on by the brook. But when I did look, there was a sad sight. 2 fine horses were down. One was struggling in the stream, and the other was groaning on the grass, groaning to make a sound that shows great pain. One of the riders was getting out of the water covered with mud. The other lay quite still. His neck is broken, said my mother. And serves him right too, said one of the colts. I thought the same, but my mother did not join with us. Well, no, she said, you must not say that, but though I am an old horse and have seen and heard a great deal, I never yet could make out why men are so fond of this sport. They often hunt themselves, often spoil good horses, and tear up the fields, and all for a hare or a fox or a stag that they could get more easily some other way. But we are only horses and don't know. Exercises A. Comprehension. 1. Answer the following questions. A. The horse says, my mother and an old riding horse seemed to know all about it. What was it that they knew about? How did they know? Answer. The horse's mother and an old riding horse knew all about the hunt, the way men ride good horses and use dogs to catch wild creatures such as the hare and fox. Perhaps they too had once taken part in such hunts. B. Why did the dogs stop barking and begin to run about with their noses to the ground? Answer. The dogs stopped barking and began to run with their noses to the ground because they had lost sight of the hare and were trying to find its scent again. C. Which lines tell us that some of the horses wanted to join the horses on the hunt? What did they wish to join in with? Answer. These lines tell us that some of the horses wanted to join in the hunt. The old horses snorted and looked eagerly after them, and we young colts wanted to be galloping with them. It seems as if the horse wished to join in with the galloping. D. Why was the hare wild with fright? Answer. The hare was wild with fright because the dogs were chasing it. E. How did the hare meet her end? Answer. The hare tried to get through the fence. It was too thick and she turned sharply round to make for the road, but it was too late. The dogs were upon it with their wild cries, and thus it met its end. F. Why did the huntsman whip off the dogs? Answer. The huntsman whipped off the dogs because otherwise they would have torn the hare to pieces. G. Why was the young horse, the storyteller, astonished? Answer. The young horse, the storyteller, was astonished by the sight of these men on fine horses with barking dogs chasing and killing a hare. These questions are more difficult. Discuss them first. H. How do we first realize that a horse, not a human being, is telling the story? Answer. We first realize that a horse, not a human being, is telling the story when we come across the sentence, I and the other colts were feeding at the lower part of the field. I. Which other animals, apart from the hare, suffered or were harmed during the hunt? Answer. 2 horses and a man were injured in the hunt. 1 man died, and presumably the dogs would have been hurt when they were whipped. 2. Answer the following with reference to context. A. They have lost the scent, said the old horse. Perhaps the hare will get off. 1. Who is the old horse speaking to? Answer. The old horse is speaking to Black Beauty, her mother, and the other colts and old horses in the field. 2. What does the scent refer to? Answer. The scent refers to the trail or scent left by the hare, which the dogs smell and follow. 3. What reaction does the speaker get to this statement? Answer. The speaker is asked what hare by Black Beauty, who has not yet seen the hare, only the horses and dogs. B. And serves him right too, said one of the colts. 1. To whom are these words addressed? Answer. The words are addressed to Black Beauty's mother. 2. What does serve him right mean? Answer. Serve him right means he deserves whatever comes to him in punishment or as a consequence of what he has done. 3. Which incident is the speaker referring to? Answer. The speaker is referring to one of the riders who had broken his neck when he fell into a brook. B. Working with words. Below are some words and expressions from the passage. With the help of a dictionary and after reading the words again in their context, give the meaning of each. Words. A. Meadows. Meadows, area of grassland, low, well-watered grasslands near a river. B. Whine, a long drawn out complaining cry as of a dog. C. Horseback, riding on the back of a horse. D. Snorted, made an explosive noise by blowing out of the nose. E. Likely, probably. F. Brook, a small stream. G. Seemed, appeared, gave the impression of. H. Astonished, amazed, surprised. Expressions. Pricked up his ear. Pricked up his ears, paid attention to, listened carefully. B. Lost the scent, could not find the smell of the trail. C. Wild with fright, frightened to the point of behaving wildly. A great deal, a lot. 2. Use these expressions in sentences of your own. A. Making straight for. Sentence. Her horse had turned tail and was making straight for the stable. B. Turned sharp round. Sentence. While going on to the town, John turned sharp round of the street. C. Were upon her. Sentence. Everyone's eyes were fixed upon her during the game. D. Never yet could make out. Sentence. I never could make out what John saw in you to like. C. Learning about language. 1. Use one of the phrasal verbs from the box in place of the words in italics in each sentence below. A phrasal verb can be used more than once. The phrasal verbs are put in, put up, put away, put across, put off, put about. A. The news about Shakir was not true. It was a rumor put about by his aunt. B. The story was so exciting only because it was put across in a dramatic way. C. The old couple put away money every month for their retirement. The old couple put away a little money every month for their retirement. D. The large man put away 12 cakes and 2 liters of milk. E. They moved into the office as soon as the fans had been put in. The fans had been put in. F. Because of the rain, the match was put off. G. The firemen soon put out the blazing fire. H. The old man put out his shoulder while he was digging a flower bed. 2. Use each of the following in sentences of your own. A. Get by. The carriage carrying the president could not get by because there were too many people on the road. B. Get through. He could not get through the window because it was too small and he was too large. C. Fall through. Be careful or you will fall through the roof, hit the floor and hurt yourself. D. Look into. Hold tight and look into the well to see if you can see if there is any water down there. E. Bring up. Please bring up the armchair when you come upstairs because the old one is broken. F. Stand in. The teacher asked the boy to stand in the corner of the room till he had some time to consider his behavior. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.